Hey everybody, going to see if I can in this screen here. No, that won't work. I think I better keep it like this. I'm just going to wait for people to jump on. Hello, humankind. How are you? Thank you for joining. Hi, Cosmic Fern Tree. Greetings to you as well. Thank you for joining. I have so many things to talk about. I don't even know where to begin. But anyway, we'll just see how it goes. I'll just give it a few more minutes, let people join. Hi, Em. Hi, Ivana. Sorry, I keep looking there because that's where my super chat screen is. That's where I can see your comments. Very excited to be here with you guys today. It's a very special time for so many reasons, but we'll go into that shortly. I'll just wait a couple of minutes before we get started. But some of the things that I would like us to explore today and share some thoughts around, first of all, is the solstice. So happy solstice to everybody. It sort of feels weird even saying happy solstice from the point of view of the third dimension reality, the narrative, where there are some pretty difficult things going on the earth plane. Very heartbreaking, actually. But in any case, we are always tested with our own initiation, our spiritual initiation, actually. My dad's birthday is 21st. Happy solar return. You're lucky you still have your dad with you. Celebrate him. Hi, Romy. Good to see you here. I haven't seen you for a few years. Great to have you with us today. I'll just wait a couple more minutes. So most of you on my chat at the moment, I think most of you are in the Northern Hemisphere. So quite cold, I'm guessing. Shortest day of the year for you guys, and it's the longest day for us here in the Southern Hemisphere. We're right in the heart of summer. Of course, I remember you, Romy. I remember all my my viewers, my followers, whatever you want to call it. I've got a very good memory. What was I saying? Lost track. That's right. So we'll be talking about the solstice. We're talking about the last full moon of 2023, which will be in Cancer. We're going to look at some of the positions of the movements of the planets, for the next, really for Capricorn season, essentially. I've listened to all your videos. Thanks, Rami. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope they've been insightful for you and anybody else who's watched them. There's quite a few things going on. I'm really, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. It actually happens very close to my birthday. So I'm personally looking forward to that. Obviously, that is a collective energy. It is an opportunity for all of us. It's going to be groundbreaking, literally groundbreaking. You know, the myth of Jupiter and Uranus, we must remember that it was Jupiter that set Uranus free. You know, think about that. Uranus was chained to a rock and his liver was pecked at every single day for years by a vulture. So he was ultimately set free from Jupiter in the exchange of Chiron actually giving up his immortality, because Chiron had his own suffering and his own wounding, which he couldn't heal himself, if you remember in the myth. And that exchange, which meant Chiron gave up his immortality and that Jupiter made him the constellation Sagittarius in the sky. That's why we have Sagittarius, that constellation. And at the same time, Uranus was set free from being chained to the rock. Now, he was chained to the rock, punished. That was a punishment because he stole the fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. Symbolism to that is fascinating. It's all about waking up humanity, essentially. The stealing of the fire is the consciousness, the bringing the consciousness to the people to wake people up. That's why Uranus is an archetype that, well, speaks to different things individually and collectively, but fundamentally is about freedom and liberation. So this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is going to be a very welcomed portal for all of us to tap into. There's so much to say about that. Hi, Anastasia, thank you so much for insightful readings. Thanks, Mel. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to talk about, as I said, the solstice, the last full moon of 2023, which will be in Cancer. We'll look at the ingress chart for the solstice. We'll look at the Cancer full moon chart as well. And I think, you know, from the point of view of, first of all, let's just start with the solstice. And before I start, I want to invite people to hit the super chat if they're going to be asking me questions. It's just something that helps me along the way as well. So it's definitely appreciated, because depending on how many people do show up for this, it will be impossible for me to answer every single question. It just depends how many people show up. So far, there's only a handful, but, you know, that's fine. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Kat. going through my mum passed. Oh, I'm very sorry about that. Sending you much love, Kat, and thank you for joining. Hi, Gregory. Welcome. So depending on how many questions are proposed to me will depend on how many I can answer and so forth. And so there's an incentive there. If you hit the super chat, I'll definitely answer your question. For the ones that are outside of that, I will see what I can do. But I will focus on, I'll try not to look at the screen of the comments every few seconds, because it just distracts me so much from what I'm trying to share. I think, you know, from the point of view of the sun ingressing into Capricorn, which is the last quarter of the wheel of the zodiac, it's the last cardinal sign, it's the last earth sign, it's a seasonal change. It represents maximum light in the southern hemisphere and the least light in the northern hemisphere. So we're experiencing, a different portal of energy depending on where one lives. But in either case, it has got to do with our own initiative. Even if you just look at it from the point of view of this year of 2023 and how this year has unfolded for you, whilst the sun has been traversing through the zodiac. When the sun reaches 0 degrees of Capricorn at around about the 21st, 22nd of December, the sun takes this position where it doesn't move for about 3 or 4 days, something like that. It stands still, right? And that's kind of like the death of the sun, which is said to also correspond to the death of Jesus, if you like. So it's the death and the rebirth. There's that part of the story. And there's the part of the story of reflecting on our own life in 2023 and how we ourselves have tracked our solar journey through the year, the work that we have done personally on ourselves. And we now reach Capricorn, which is a very high point. But as I said, least light in the northern hemisphere. So in the northern hemisphere, I think it takes people inwardly quite a lot. It's an inner reflection, which can include, though, our external focus of initiation with what we have been working on. Although that would include, thanks, Romy, really appreciate that. Hi, Fee, nice to see you, lovely. Hi, Joshua, my lady. Thanks for joining, guys. Really appreciate it. Really lovely to have you all here. Whilst there can be, it's a Capricorn Saturn focus, right? So the Capricorn Saturn energy, at least from that personality, external level of reality, it is very much to do with our own authority and responsibility, of our journey, of our life, what we have accomplished, how we have grown, how responsible we have been, just to use Capricorn words. The tests and trials and initiations we encountered right from the beginning, when the sun was at 0 Aries, which is the beginning of the new year, actually, well, the astrological new year. So there's an initiative process that runs through all the cardinal signs, right? And that initiative process has different elements through each cardinal sign, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and now Capricorn. So it's a reflective process, I think, during the solstice to, I guess, to step in a space of gratitude, appreciation, recognition, just recognizing how far we have come in our own personal journey of growth, and the test of initiation. Now, the test of initiation, I tend to feel into that and think of that from the point of view of spiritual initiation. The teachings of initiation are huge in esoteric astrology. There's so much in esoteric astrology about the initiation process, that corresponds very much to the alignment of the soul personality relationship. And I think when we get to Capricorn season, yes, we can focus on the external achievements and rewards, and it could be business, it could be money, it could be career, it can be any and all of those things. But I like to think of initiation as a test of our spiritual initiation, spiritual will, and just a reflective process of how much we have integrated, our personality with our soul, and just simply giving gratitude and appreciation for where we are. I was thinking a lot about this yesterday, and I was thinking, I personally, I feel so grateful that I can just relax with my beautiful little cat Coco whenever I want to relax. I have that luxury to just lay down and just rest. There are so many people on the earth at the moment, in the Middle East, namely, that do not have that luxury. Their hearts and souls and lives and homes and families are being torn apart. You know, there's a lot of issues around that. I don't want to focus too much on it, but I do want to acknowledge that it's not humane for us to notice that, to realize that, to send compassion, to send love, to send whatever we can from a hopeful position, you know, relative to the souls that are suffering, because we are so privileged and so lucky that we are not living that reality. And it's very selfish to not acknowledge that and to just think of our own personal, you know, what we have, and I've got this and I've got that. You know, that's a very personality, unconscious based relationship to life. You know, in ancient worlds and in ancient astrology, the recognition, the prayer, the practice, the devotion to spirit and soul and divinities was a way of life. That's how people lived every single day. And this third dimension reality, you know, as much as we have evolved in so many ways, that evolutionary process has also found its way in losing touch with spirit, with the divinity of everything, you know. And so when we have a solstice time, which happens every year, of course, those are some of the things that I like to reflect on. You know, what has my initiative process been like? How much have I integrated with spirit and the divine source creation to all things? I like to think about those things. Hi, Patrick. Thanks for the donation. Let me just see if I've missed any questions. Welcome to all of you again. Thanks for joining. Kat, I want to say I'm sorry. Yeah, that's nice of you, Gregory. Very grateful for the love I received from Four Cats Daily. Yeah, cosmic fern tree. Isn't it just such a blessing? What a gift. What a gift, you know, that the God source creation to all things has gifted us with the animal kingdom, and we have the privilege of having them in our life. My cat has been my soul saver, not lifesaver, soul saver. Hi, DJ. Seattle, Washington. Yay. USA. Most of my viewers are from the USA. It's really interesting. A blessing to have food and shelter. Yes, of course it is. We are so lucky. We are so lucky. We take it for granted so much. Is there a 3-day period, death and rebirth in July, like the winter solstice? No, I think I could be wrong, but my understanding is that it is specifically related to the Northern Hemisphere's sun's ingress into 0 degrees Capricorn. Because in July in the Northern Hemisphere, that's summertime. So the sun is at its highest point, if you like, and there's maximum daylight in the sky in the Northern Hemisphere anyway, right? Plants have been my savior. Yeah, I bet they have. Lots of animal lovers here, which is great to see. So transitional season, you know, last quarter of the wheel, a powerful reflective process of gratitude, integrating more initiative processes in our soul work, our spiritual work, things like that. And, you know, on that mundane, exoteric, everyday kind of level, it is a time where we are approaching Christmas, and Some people here celebrate Christmas, some people don't. I normally do. I don't feel inclined to celebrate it this year, if I'm going to be honest. My heart feels extremely torn with what's happening in the Middle East. That's just my personal position. I will be giving gratitude on Christmas to the divine source creation, to all things, for the blessings that I have in my life, you know, just the simple things. It's got nothing to do with the material plane at all. I've never been driven and motivated by the material plane. If I was, my life would be very different. Speaking of material things and the collective change of the material world, since Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, where we had the global crisis from that economic stream. I was just thinking about that yesterday, and I thought, you know, it's quite extraordinary when it comes to Pluto, that Pluto leaves no stone unturned. There is no one that is exempt from the power of Pluto, because Pluto rules the soul, and it rules the soul of humanity as well. So 2008, there was a collective crash globally, financially, and so forth. And, you know, at that time, I was working in one of the richest countries of the world for one of the richest companies of the world, Saudi Arabia. And even the company that I was working for basically went down. That's ultimately why I resigned from that work and left and came back to Australia. And I'm only mentioning that because it was a powerful reminder to me of the power of Pluto, that no one can evade the power of Pluto. It leaves nothing untouched. The job of Pluto is to strip everything back bare, to reveal from a fake false level. It reveals the fake false BS of whatever has been covered up. And we all know how much has been covered up since 2008, because it's all exploded. Literally, you know, for the last 16 years, well, it'll be 16 years, 2024, right? That the duration of Pluto in Capricorn would have been 16 years next year. That's a very long time. Some of you here may not be old enough to even reflect on that. I am, so I can remember it very, very clearly. So 16 years of smashing through the false systems. And then, you know, next year, Pluto goes back into Aquarius in January and revisits Capricorn one last time before Pluto fully commits to Aquarius. And I'll be doing more live streams so we can unpack that in greater depth, perhaps early next year sometime. But I am thinking about it in the back of my mind, because when Pluto goes back into Aquarius, January 2024, it actually reaches, for the first time in 248 years, it reaches the second degree of Aquarius. That is exactly on my ascendant. So for me, that's a very personal embodiment of Pluto. And that will be the case for many, many, many of you who have anything at 2 degrees of Aquarius, you know. But we are looking at in one sense, the same sort of cataclysmic, you know, changes and crises in the world from a group perspective, from different communities and groups. You know, it's Aquarius is the archetype that corresponds to the collective family, to groups and different family tribes and, you know, things of that nature. I think a lot of exposure is going to happen through lots of different groups where there's been a lot of hidden things going on, once again, because Pluto reveals whatever has been masked and hidden in a false way. And that's what I was going to say before. When Pluto reveals things and strips us back to bare naked, as it were, the gift of that, which sometimes we forget, because sometimes the intensity of Pluto stripping everything back, it's sometimes it can be unbearable. You know, it's a really do or die passage, you know. And when we get to that point where we are, it's a little bit like, or very much like the descent of Inanna in the underworld. When Inanna descends into the underworld, she goes through 7 spheres of judgment. And in each sphere, she releases a garment that she's wearing. And that is the Pluto stripping back, right? Stripping the layers off us, right? And when she gets to the last one, she is killed, right? She dies. But she ultimately is reborn, right? Hence this rebirth of morning star, evening star, and all the cycles that occur within the evening star journey and the morning star journey. There's all these little passages that exist in those parts of the cycle as well. But the point being that she dies and is reborn, and that's Pluto. That is the sacred path of Pluto, the underworld. And when we get to that point in the journey of Pluto, that is when we are able to see the hidden riches, because Hades, Pluto, the lord of the underworld, in mythology, when Pluto came to the earth at times, one time he came when he abducted Persephone. One of the things that he would do is he would find locations on the earth, and he would dig really, really deep, because he knew where the gold was. He knew where the riches were in the earth. So that's what Pluto does in our life, as it were. You know, when we go through that transformative journey, it strips us back of fake, false, fabricated, distorted, whatever it is, layers that we have integrated consciously or unconsciously, in order for us to see the true, you know, worth and true richness that we actually have within us, which is our infinite divinity. You know, what can be more grand and more beautiful and more powerful than recognizing your own inherent divinity, because you are a spark of the ultimate divinity. That's, you know, that's the ultimate sort of journey of Pluto, really. Let me just have a look if there's any questions here. Pebbles loves animals too. Awesome. Yes, over, what's that, 2000? Yeah, Gregory, it's if I allow my mind to go there right now, I'll my mind will become derailed, because the volume of intensity that I feel about that is ineffable, and I have to contain it for the moment. Pluto videos are the best. Thanks, Romy. Totally remember, yeah, Pluto moving into Capricorn. Yes, Pluto. Well, when transiting Pluto is first of all forming a hard aspect, particularly a conjunction, or square or opposition, really, but conjunctions are the conjunction is the most potent aspect ever. That's not an opinion, that's just a fact. The conjunction contains the 360 degrees. The energy of 360 degrees is all contained in the conjunction. So therefore, the conjunction is infinite possibilities. It can play out in so many different ways. Thus, it is so powerful. So when you have Pluto in forming a conjunction to one of your personal planets or one of your angles or your nodes, that's ultimately life-changing, really. Okay, let's see what else have we got here. Yes, 2 degrees ascendant for me, Aquarius. Pebbles. Yeah. The only thing that I haven't figured out with these live streams is how to keep the super chat comments and questions visible when this video is saved and then uploaded on my channel for people to view who missed the live stream. Because when I did the test a few days ago, I noticed that the chat wasn't there. So I'll have to figure that out. I'm ready for Pluto to leave my first house. Has it been life-changing for you? Be the infinity. That question is to you. Aquarius is my 8th house. Yep. Thank you, Anastasia. Thanks, KM. So I think because Aquarius is such a futuristic sign as well, and we also had, Jupiter, Saturn, the great conjunction occur in Aquarius, back in, when was it? 2020, wasn't it? I think. That cycle happens only every 20 years or something like that. Pluto going into Aquarius, Venus star point ingressing into Libra, out of Scorpio into Libra, been in Scorpio for over 100 years. So meaning there's a collective transition and shift into the air qualities, the air signs. And air really means a lot of different things, but it certainly speaks to matters of justice and equality and fairness and, new knowledge, new information and things of that nature. Okay, so let me just we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction coming up in Aries. That's not till 2026, but that's not too far away. That is literally going to be a new reality without question. I will talk about that further down the track, but let me just share my screen and actually, I just want to show you guys something here. This chart is the Babylonian chart in Ruben Kolev's program, quite a complex program indeed. So just want to show you, see the date here, 2024, January 18th. And there is Mars right there. Let me just grab a tool to highlight so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So there's Mars. Now, a day before this, but this is, let me just be clear. I'm basically about to point to Mars becoming visible, right? Because at this present moment, as we speak, Mars is invisible and has been since September sometime, which is a big part of the story of what's been happening in the Middle East. If I go back, let's see. Got to just remove that. See, I've just gone back one day, gone back to the 17th, and can you see that Mars is shaded in grey? That means Mars is invisible. This is how this program works. So if I go a day forward, Mars is blue, that's showing us that Mars is visible. So Mars will become visible in Melbourne, so Southern Hemisphere, on the 18th of January. That's going to be a very important transition. I really need to look at when it becomes visible in the Northern Hemisphere relative to the Middle East, though, because that would be more significant for that part of the hemisphere. In any case, it will be sometime in January in the Northern Hemisphere, I suspect, but we'd need to look at that. Now, where is Vesta retrograde recently moved back into Gemini and Quincunx Pluto. Yeah. I find Vesta is, well, she's a very complex goddess. She's one of the children of Saturn, Kronos. And when he swallowed all his children, she was the first one to go in. And then she was the last one to come out. So very simply put, Vesta speaks to our deep soul spiritual work that we focus on. The word focus connects to Vesta. And it's what we focus on to the exclusion of everything else. So we can deprive or deny ourselves of so many things to focus on one particular thing. That's Vesta. Now, let me just animate this chart and take it to the solstice ingress, which is round about here, but I better bring it up to exact ingress. Which is, yeah, around about here. So this is the ingress chart for the solstice. This is Melbourne, Southern Hemisphere, right? So it'll be the 21st for you guys. In the Northern Hemisphere, it's the 22nd for us. It's literally just a couple of hours away, actually about 3 hours away or so. So there's a cazimi going on there with Mercury and the Sun. Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is going to retrograde back into Sagittarius. Sagittarius is its sign of detriment. And as it goes back into Sagittarius, Mercury will square Neptune again. And I think there's one final square with Mercury, Neptune in the second week of January. So that's what I'm talking about there. There's Neptune, there's Mercury. Mercury is going backwards, it's going to catch up to square to Neptune again, and then another one in January. So that's not an easy journey, because Mercury in Sagittarius is in its detriment. It's not its greatest point. At least from that everyday exoteric level, that can be very problematic, just even in our own life, just the usual things, you know, miscommunication, misunderstandings, travel delays, you know, computer issues, technology, just the usual stuff of Mercury retrograde. But because Mercury is in his detriment, when he gets back to Sag and squares Neptune, that can speak to greater stories, you know, on the collective and certain narratives where there's just, you know, a lot more deception going on once again. And I don't think we're going to have real crystal clear answers until Mercury finishes the square to Neptune, right, which is first week or so of January. So what are the favorable things to this solstice chart? Well, the Sun is sextile Saturn, so that's actually very favorable because Saturn rules the sun's sign, right? Well, the sun is in Saturn's sign. And so, there's a one-way reception going on here. Sextiles are opportunities. Receptions help the vibration of the planets involved. It's like an assistance. It's like having, your right-hand man coming in, or right-hand lady coming in and, giving you the leg up, helping you, so to speak, right? The other aspect is, of course, the trine to Jupiter. So there's two very favorable aspects for this ingress chart. This is important because, this ingress chart really is talking to the whole of the Capricorn season, you could say, or this final quarter of the wheel. These aspects are important because even though they're essentially there just for this particular day, they will carry through in this Capricorn seasonal cycle, if you like. Also, I think, that the Jupiter trine, Saturn sextile, both the sextile and the trine are, very supportive aspects. And if we are just to think about it from our own individual initiative journey of how far we've come within ourselves at the end of this year, then, Jupiter, the god of wisdom, inspiration, encouragement, confidence, generosity, there's a sense of generosity that can come out of this trine to the sun, for the Capricorn season as it unfolds, and also something with Saturn sextiling the sun, bringing further support to the structure of the Capricorn sun into Capricorn season. Now, those are key words that I'm using for these archetypes, but in the backdrop of everything that's going on, I think they're pretty important because we can all use a little bit of hope and inspiration in these, such dire, straight, cataclysmic times. We can all use the help of Jupiter, the helping hand of the Lord of, all the gods, so to speak, right? We just need to be careful with that Mercury square Neptune of what we believe, what we are listening to, what we are receiving, and what we are looking at blindly, because there will be a lot that will be revealed after the square completes, that we will be quite surprised, I think, as to what's been going on with certain narratives. Okay, so Venus, who is in her detriment in Scorpio, I think that has been a deep journey within our own self, facing our own personal limitations, fears around love, what we love, who we love, receiving love, not receiving love, all those sorts of things. And she takes us back to our own depth of our soul, the depth of our own riches, Scorpio, right? But the detrimental side, of course, is the obsessive, can be, revengeful, all sorts of things like that, plotting and planning, not being very nice, behind people's backs and so forth. There is all that, you know, exoteric personality side to Venus in Scorpio. But anyway, she ingresses into Sagittarius on the 29th or 30th of December, depending on where you are on the Earth. I think that's going to be such an interesting shift. Anytime, you know, there is a planet ingressing, transitioning from Scorpio to Sag, there is this sense of coming out of the underworld, coming out of the darkness, out of that deep cave that where we had to confront certain things about ourselves, certain things about our lives, or certain things about others, whatever it's been, and how we've processed that, how we've cleansed and purified through that journey. Coming into Sagittarius, it's like coming out of the dark cave into the bright blue sky, Sagittarius. So it's a real shift from death to possibility, you know, optimism of some kind. Venus and Sagittarius will take us through that journey. I will come back to talk about Venus in Sag, I think in a separate video, but I just wanted to bring it up for the moment. Also in early January, the 4th or 5th of January, depending where you are, transiting Mars will ingress into Capricorn. By the time Mars gets into Capricorn, he'll still be invisible, actually, because it happens in the first week of January, and his visibility doesn't happen until around about the 19th, 20th of January. So I think we're going to see something very significant shift on the Earth plane with, thank you, Patrick, thank you, with the matters of war. Mars in Capricorn, let's not forget, is his exalted position. And Mars in Capricorn is extremely strategic. It's a Saturn ruled sign, but Mars really benefits from that earthiness of Capricorn and the Saturn restraint, if you like, because Mars in Aries and Scorpio, it's two rulership positions, by the way. Although they are rulership positions and Mars has tremendous dignity there, technically speaking, Mars in Aries is totally and utterly impulsive for the most part. And in Scorpio, it's the most revengeful. In Capricorn, it has that Capricorn Saturn earthy energy moving through it. So it really thinks about what it's going to do with itself, that the restraint of Saturn really benefits Mars. Hence, it's an exalted position for Mars. So the transition, Mars in Scorpio has been held for the Middle East. Let's be frank here. Mars in Sagittarius hasn't really been much better, in my opinion, because it's been the conflict of the different faiths and beliefs that certain groups and individuals hold that are a platform to justify behavior that is classified as criminal, basically, simply put. And, Sagittarius can be, at that exoteric personality level, Sagittarius can be very, very self-righteous. My way is the right way. What I believe is correct. This belongs to me. This land was given to me by so on and so on and so forth. It's just, it can be so blind-sided, right? So I think the Mars in Capricorn will start to rein things in and bring some strategy into play, some much needed strategy and restructure, right, at certain corners of the Earth, so to speak. from the point of view of our own personal journey, those of you who have Mars in Capricorn will be having a Mars return. And Mars will be traveling, whether you're having a return or not, Mars will be traveling through your Capricorn house. Really take advantage of Mars in Capricorn. It is really a wonderful, wonderful benefic energy to focus your energy in such a way to create things that are important to you for your own stability and your own co-creation with reality and with life, right? It's a very beneficial passage. Okay, there's around about 51 watching, so some of you are not making comments at all. Thank you to those who have, and thank you to those who have hit super chat. I'd encourage more of you to hit super chat, and then I'll answer your questions if you pose a question to me. Just a reminder. Okay, so Mars in Capricorn, Venus in Sagittarius, Jupiter stations direct on the 31st of December. So that's coming up as well. But before that, we have a full moon. So let's just let's have a look at the chart for the full moon. So there it is there. Let me just delete those arrows and get some new arrows going. So there's the full moon in Cancer. This is the last full moon, you know, for 2023. I think this is a really, really, really interesting full moon because these degrees, 4 degrees, are actually, when we have I think it's let me see, a lunar eclipse, the first lunar eclipse of 2024 is in Libra at 5 degrees of Libra. So this full moon is connected to the first lunar eclipse of 2024 because of the degrees. So that within itself shows us that this full moon is very, very, very powerful. I think also just with the solstice, and then, you know, days later we have a full moon Cancer Capricorn. The solstice is the energy of Cancer Capricorn as well, and so is the full moon here, Cancer Capricorn. So apart from the themes of initiation and so forth, let's not forget that the opposite sign to Capricorn is Cancer, which speaks to our own inner ability to cultivate and create and sustain security. The test and initiation of Cancer is many things, but one main thing it is the ability to face adversity, you know, challenges and so forth in life, in the world, and be able to stand very firm on an inner sense of security that is not dependent on your external reality and the material plane. That's the ultimate test of Cancer. So this full moon, you know, well, first of all, it's an extremely sensitive moon. Cancer is a very, very sensitive sign, very, very sensitive, but it is very, very feisty as well. It can be very, very, very feisty because it's the sign that wants to protect, you know, the archetype that speaks to self-protection and protecting those that we love and nurture, right, in our lives. So I think this is going to be quite an important full moon for those reasons, and also because it connects to the first lunar eclipse, which, as I said, occurs March of 2024. Let me just see what else is going on with this full moon. Mercury is retrograde, very close to the galactic center here. Mars is approaching the galactic center, not quite there. Pluto at the last degree. That's what it was. Chiron. Chiron is stationing direct on the full moon. I think that's an important takeaway. First of all, Aries is square Cancer Capricorn. Now, Chiron is at 15 degrees, so most people would argue, no, that's too far away. But in evolutionary astrology, I can tell you that 10 degrees or so is not too far to be considered an active aspect. And I would agree with that because I've seen it play out. So, we have the solstice, we have a full moon in Cancer squaring Chiron. Personally, I think that from a collective perspective, and specifically in the Middle East, that's really going to show the deep grief, deep grief and pain that so many people are experiencing. First of all, the people in that zone and region, that includes Jewish people as well. I've seen some videos where, Israelis and Jewish people are being treated pretty horrifically as well by their own people. That's a fact. I'm not making it up. I've seen actual footage. So there's a lot going on that the mainstream media will not show you. We know that. We know what mainstream media is like. If we didn't learn that through the COVID period, then we've learned nothing. It's abundant that the world has been presented and projected in a particular light, and Pluto moving through Capricorn has basically revealed to us, well, no, actually, that's not really the reality of things. Remember, Capricorn is the archetype that corresponds to the construct of this reality. What does Pluto do? It zooms in, smashes that reality open, and shows it for its falseness, right? So this Chiron squaring this full moon, I think, will be the collective sense and vibration in the ether of very deep pain and grief that many people would be feeling. That's undeniable. It's we cannot ignore that. It's there. And full moons always, bring to light, illuminate, enable us to see things that perhaps we couldn't see before. Full moon it's many, many things. It's also a timer. I was reading this book here, which is by Roman Kolev, and it's basically it's called The Babylonian Sky Observer. It's such a technical book, and it's not an easy read at all, not an easy read. But if you want to learn about ancient astrology and what the ancients observed and understood, and if you want to understand the astronomy from a Babylonian perspective, then that's probably a book you want to get. Roman Kolev is, you can find YouTube videos of him. If you just type in his name, you will get his website, and you can reach out to him if you're interested in. He's got a lot of books, actually. But anyway, getting back to the point. I was reading a small chapter in this book last night, which I read for about an hour, and then my brain was just, oh, it was flying in all sorts of directions. I was trying to process the language. This is a lot of the material in this book is astronomical, like as in astronomy, right? And it is astronomical as well, because it is so out of the scope and field of mainstream astrology and basic astrology, period. It's a spectrum where most astrology on the commercial plane sits over here, and women's work goes to the other end of the universe. And I'm not exaggerating. That's how vastly apart and different these teachings are from mainstream. There was a section in here where he was talking about the way the ancients would assess what is going to happen on the earth plane. And their assessment came through the literal observation of the sky. So they would look at the rising and setting of stars and planets, and they would look at the atmosphere, like the actual atmosphere of how things looked on the earth, the atmosphere closer to the sky, the color, light volume or dim volume of a star or a planet, rising, setting, culminating, and so forth, in their heliacal phases and so forth, becoming invisible, then becoming visible. Oh, imagine doing all of that just with your naked eyes. They had these priests that were astrologers that would document 24/7 around the clock everything that was going on in the sky, everything. And through that, they were able to predict what was to come. And there was a mention there of the moon. And now there are many people that use the moon calendar for their plants and vegetation and things of that nature, right? Fee, one of my viewers here, is also one of my students. She's a horticulturist, and she's very big on using the lunar calendar for these reasons. And it has been used for eons, actually. All farmers have used the correspondence of the lunation cycle relative to crop. And that was also the case back in the Babylonian times. And one of the things that they really recognized was that the moon, and I've always known this, but I didn't realize that it is written in Babylonian ancient teachings as well. The moon is a clock. It acts like a timer, literally. And that's how the ancients also viewed the moon, as this clock and timer of things that will unfold. So I was reminded of that yesterday when I was doing a little bit of reading. So even the full moon itself, what is it? It's a timer of things being illuminated to us, for better or for worse. We may like it, we may not like it. It doesn't matter. It's all going to be illuminated either way. So what's the illumination here? The illumination is, if we think about this collectively, moon in Cancer could be the collective family, right? And the square to Chiron is the collective grief and pain that everyone is feeling to some extent, some more than others. Hey, Nikki, thanks for the super chat. Sending love from Chicago. Always look forward to your videos. Thank you, Nikki. That's very sweet of you. Thank you so much. If you have a question, Nikki, pop it in, because I'd love to answer it if I can. Just seeing if I've missed anything else here. Patrick, you've actually donated as well, and Romy. So those of you that hit the super chat, please ask a question if you want to. You don't have to, only if you want to, and I'll do my best to answer it. So yeah, that's kind of that's the feeling I get about this full moon. And because Chiron is in Aries, and then, you know, the first lunar eclipse is in Aries Libra. Because there's the nodes in Aries Libra. You know, this is so much about our personal journey of initiation in Aries, relative to our own personal sense of self and identity, and being comfortable, you know, with who we are. Chiron in Aries is exposing, if you like, or ripping off the Band-Aid of our own personal wounds. You know, Aries is very personal. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the infant of the zodiac, the baby. It's a very insecure sign, Aries, at its core. But it is many other things as well. It is heroic. It is courageous. It is impulsive. So Chiron in Aries, I think, has, and it's one of the signs where Chiron stays a long time. There are a few signs in the wheel where Chiron will spend years and years, and then there are some signs where Chiron just spends a couple of years. So that's very interesting to me. Pisces, Aries, definitely two of the signs where Chiron spends a really, really long time. And you know, I said in a video that I made for Facebook the other day, which I didn't post on YouTube, if we want to see heaven on earth, or if we want to see peace on earth, then we must find our own peace inside our own heart. We cannot see peace out there until we ourselves align and integrate with peace in our own heart. Peace with everything, and it's going to start with our own self. This is part of Chiron's journey, and this is in Aries, and this is part of the lunar nodes in Aries Libra, right? It's the journey of healing and finding peace with our own self, with who we are, with who we've been, and who we are becoming. Aries, ourself. And then it goes on to the level of those around us, our friends, our family, people who used to be our friend, who we thought was our friend. Those things happen, you know, relationships fall apart, relationships end. Unfortunately, for the most part, when relationships and friendships end, they usually end because something has gone wrong. I mean, you don't hear of a friendship or a relationship ending because things are great, right? So there's something that, you know, we are learning in this process of our relationships or friendships changing and ending about ourselves and about the importance of forgiveness to ourselves and to others. The more we harbor on the, you know, disappointment, bitterness, anger, whatever, the more the world looks the way it does. If every soul had peace in their heart, do you think we would see war? It's impossible. So, you know, slowly, one step at a time, all these different energies do assist us in these sorts of journeys and transformations within ourselves. Let me just check the chat for a moment. Yes, it's Rumen Kolev. I think Fee wrote his name there. So thanks for that, Fee. Amelia, about WhatsApp and groups and YouTube and community. Yeah, I think we are going to, well, first of all, Pluto in Capricorn has been deconstructing the reality that we thought was life. It's revealed to us that, no, actually, what we were conditioned to believe is actually not true. And then there's the contending with that because it's a loss. it's a feeling of, you know, losing something, because anything that we believe in, we've invested. You know, we've invested our heart, our spirit, our soul, our mind, right, into something that we believe in. And then to find out that it was actually fake or false or fabricated or distorted, then we have to go through our own personal death with that in order to create a new beginning, a new sense of vision or reality. That's what we've been going through with Pluto and Capricorn. So in Aquarius, a similar thing is going to happen, but there's also going to be, you know, a newfound what's the word that I'm thinking? I just can't think of the word. I'm just thinking about community, you know, finding your person, your people, as it were, right? Pluto is going to help us actually, you know, see through the scams, the dishonest, fake groups and whatnot, and also help us establish real soul connections with particular tribes and groups and friends, you know. And because of the nature of technology and just, you know, how fast it's progressing, you know, most of our lives, you know, we're this phone, you know, our whole life is on the phone. You know, you're banking, you're this, you're that, you're the other. I try not to put all my life on this phone, but some cases it's you're left with no choice, as it were. The point is, I think we're going to find a deeper purpose and meaning in our process of evolution, individually and collectively, through the different tribes that we are going to align with. It will, one thing we need to remember about Aquarius is that it is an air sign, right? And it is fairly detached, right? One of the greatest gifts of the archetype of Aquarius is its ability to see the bigger picture, because it has that broad vision, because it is able to be detached and stand back. Aquarius is the one that will stand back and witness and observe the bigger picture, right? In contrast to Cancer, where Cancer will be all enmeshed and insulated. Insulation is Cancer. Insulated into the body of the feelings that come up, and particularly when Cancer feels threatened in any way, shape, or form, it becomes very, very defensive and personal. So it's very activated and triggered by its own emotional center of insecurity. Aquarius will do the complete opposite to that. It cares about the human family, the human race, but it cares about it from its extraordinary ability to observe and be objective in perspectives and visions and views that help the whole human family. It's not invested or interested in its own personal feeling. It's invested in the whole human family and having visions of a more hopeful future, if you like. So Pluto in Aquarius takes us into that zone. And because it's Pluto, it's the depth and the soul of particular groups and soul tribes that we are going to align with and connect with, right? The Aquarius will just help us see it all very, very clearly and objectively, as we need to. And the Pluto will take us into the depth and soul of that friendship or of that group of people, or humanity, as it were, but not before it reveals to us the fakeness and the BS of certain groups. Now, that can be on really large scales, public scales, and that can be in small private scales as well. It's going to be everywhere. So first we've got to undergo that journey. Pluto in Aquarius, I think, is there until 2044, about 20 years. Long, long time. So remember, when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius, you know, a lot of the innovative shifts and changes and transformations that will happen collectively, we're not going to see, you know, straight off the bat. Look at how long it's taken Pluto through Capricorn to get to where it's gotten to at the moment. It started with, you know, the pockets, affecting the pockets of every member of society, including the ones that thought were untouchable. And then it went into all segregations, churches, governments, it went everywhere. It's left no stone unturned, has it, really? It's going to do a similar thing in Aquarius. Just going to check comments. The possibility current areas of conflict increasing in January, February. Biff Helms, I will answer your question, but I'd appreciate a super like. It's a good question, and it's one that a lot of people evade answering, which I understand. Conflict and war is a difficult subject, and no one wants to predict war. Well, some people get off on being right in predictions, but prediction is not easy at all. There's so many layers to it. And I don't like to use the word prediction so much. I prefer to use the word forecast. I wish Rumen was here, because he'd have a lot to say about that, because Rumen looks at things like the appearance of comets, what they mean, what color was the comet, how long was it visible. Believe it or not, those comets that appear, and there was one, when was it? Just a couple of months before the war started in the Middle East. And Rumen did say to me that he hoped that it wasn't going to bring up war, but he wasn't sure at that time. Because at that time, when he and I briefly discussed it, it hadn't appeared yet. It was still yet to appear in his location. Something like that. But anyway, those appearances of comets and things like that, they can speak to hundreds of years of a particular stream of energy that hits the earth. There's that. But in the shorter term, more immediate term, well, first of all, Venus is still a morning star. The morning star is the goddess of war. You know, in Mesopotamia and Babylon, and a city called Akkad, I think it was the city of Akkad, where the morning star Venus, which is the warrior goddess, was revered, right? Because she was literally a war goddess. And the ancients, for instance, they relied on her appearance, disappearance, that devotion towards her, the sacred practices in honoring her, and so on and so forth, was, you know, a big, like, that's how they lived, right? So when the war goddess shows up, depending on a number of different things, it's, you know, there's potential for war. Now, obviously, that's not every time we have a Venus morning star, because then, you know, we'd have a war every couple of years or something like that. But having said that, I read somewhere that there are, I don't know, 30, maybe more active wars at the moment on the earth plane and have been for a while. There's just so much that is not shown to us. So Venus being a morning star until June of 2024, could speak to these matters still not having been resolved. And I don't expect them to be resolved early next year. I really don't. You look back to history, you look back at World War I, World War II, different other things that have happened, genocide things that have happened, Rwanda, all that sort of stuff. None of that happened overnight or in a couple of months. Most of those things went on for years or a couple of years, so these things don't start accidentally or randomly, and that they don't finish quickly either, unfortunately. So I don't see it ending in January. I feel pretty confident in saying that. I think, however, though, like I was saying earlier, with Mars being transitioning into Capricorn and then a couple of weeks later becoming visible, there's going to be we're going to see something very, very different about the nature of this war. That's just my own instinctive, intuitive sense. That's not something I've read anywhere. That's not something anybody told me. It's just what makes sense to me with Mars becoming visible and Mars transitioning into Capricorn. There's some different structure and strategies we will see around those problems in that part of the world. Does that mean it's going to be resolved with Mars in Capricorn and Mars being visible? No, but is there going to be a significant transition and change? Yes, I think absolutely. Heartbreaking how war must be in the consciousness of humanity. I envision a radically different world. Yeah, I'm with you, Pebbles. I envision a different world as well. Hello, fellow warrior. My soul is crying for the world right now. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. Okay. Is there a way to tell if someone is an only child in the birth chart? I think that's a very complex question. It's sort of really out of the scope and stream of what we're discussing today. But given you have, hit super chat, I'm going to try and answer it for you. It will be in a broad way, and there is a good reason for that. First of all, let me say this, that reading a chart in a vacuum or in a blind way, meaning you don't have any information about whose chart you are looking at, you will be looking for a needle in a haystack. There are so many possibilities that could speak to so many different things, and you won't know whether it's this or whether it's that, so to speak, unless you have some information about the person and soul of the chart that you are looking at. If I gave you a chart, here's a perfect, simple example. If I gave you a chart right now on the screen with no name on it, would you be able to tell me if it was a male or a female? You wouldn't. No one would, unless they were totally, authentically clairvoyant psychic. And even then, maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. But just as a way of an astrologer, you could never look at a chart and say, this is definitely a man, this is definitely a woman. So how could you, in the same way, if you have no information about this person, determine whether they are an only child or not? There may be some factors that might allude to that in some kind of way, or the opposite, but you'll never really know unless that person tells you, in my opinion. It's not it's far more complicated than one thinks when it comes to the putting together the whole story of any one chart, the integration of everything, and also, you know, knowing where this soul is at in their evolutionary journey. You know, are they a consensus, just to use evolutionary astrology paradigms? There's a section in evolutionary astrology from Jeffrey Wolf Green where he describes that 85% or thereabouts of the world belong to a consensus state reality. About 15-20% belong to an individuated reality, if you like, a soul evolutionary state. And then there's a 3 to 4% that are in the spiritualized state. And then you've got all these sub-periods in each of those stages as well. Imagine the complexity of that. Look, frankly speaking, it's often quite simple to determine if someone is in consensus state or individuated state. Most people actually in the consensus state wouldn't certainly not attend a live stream like this or go to an astrologer, generally speaking, for the most part. On the other hand, there could be a soul in the consensus state, and they could be right at the last point of the sub period, which takes them is opening the door to that individuated state. So there's variations. It's very, very complex. I know that has sidetracked from your question. M is all I see there. But on the other hand, I'm just trying to demonstrate to you just how difficult it can be if you are reading a blind chart and you don't know anything about the person. Can you just respond to what I've said and just let me know if that has helped you or not, or if you want to frame the question a little bit more with a bit more content or something like that. Just let me know. I'm happy to give it another go. But overall, reading a chart in a blind vacuum, no. Going through Neptune conjunction. Okay. How long have we been going? An hour and a half. Okay, so I'm going to start closing it up, I think. We've sort of we've gone to a few different areas, but you know, Pluto in Aquarius, you know, we are looking at serious business there when it comes to the world at large. You know, Aquarius is a sign of humanity. So, you know, there's a lot more metamorphosis coming, a lot more. Yeah, Chiron stations direct on the full moon. I sort of lost track of this, but let me go back to it if I may. I was talking about Chiron in Aries and, you know, square the full moon. And, well, I think I completed it. I was talking about the element of, you know, self-compassion, self-forgiveness, and then giving that to others as well. Even when it's really hard to do so. I know sometimes it can feel impossible, but the first thing that I think is important to realize or remember is that the moment you can forgive, you release yourself. You actually release yourself of being chained into being a prisoner, you know, of certain thoughts or perceptions or memories or feelings of a particular passage you went through with somebody that wasn't pleasant or wasn't what you hoped for or left you disappointed or whatever it was. The most powerful thing we can do for our own soul growth and our own heart healing is to forgive and release. And when it's harder to do that, that's when we know that we have a big initiative or initiation test before us, because that's what shows us how much we've grown. We can't grow and evolve in a certain way if we're still holding on to something that doesn't even exist anymore. It only exists in our mind or our heart, our memory, so to speak. So Chiron stationing direct is definitely going to take us into a passage, with this full moon illuminating to us actually what kind of self-healing we have done. Self-healing being Aries, and then how has that translated onto our personal relationships? Libra, right? The opposite sign to Aries. So Chiron will be direct for quite some time because, it's one of those bodies that stays retrograde for a while and is direct for a while as well. So whatever we have been processing and working through and healing internally, when whilst Chiron has been retrograde in Aries, we may see what that looks like, in our reality as Chiron stations direct, and the full moon just really amplifies that energy of Chiron there. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's coming up in April, which is in Taurus, I'm going to come back and do a whole video on that. I might do a live stream on it, or I might just do a video. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Let me just see if I've missed any questions here. I've sort of been through the Pluto Zero Aquarius Amira, so I won't be going there again. Yes, the third house is siblings, and so is Mercury. And for those of you that don't know, Vesta is sisters. So Vesta, third house, Mercury, all archetypes that speak to siblings. Thanks, Samira. Look, I personally feel that this last quarter, of the sun's journey, the last quarter of the wheel, has some very significant initiative tests for us, because basically on the 20th of January, I'll just show you this. This is a really interesting chart. Let me just show you. Just from the point of view, someone asked if, there's something about, are we going to see more healing or hope or something to that effect, coming into January? I don't think it will be January, frankly speaking, and I'll explain why. Check this out. Let me just get it exact, or close enough to exact anyway. Okay, so it's around about here. See that conjunction between Sun and Pluto? 29:59. Now, if I adjust that with a couple more minutes, I'll get that Sun at 59 as well. So just imagine it's 59 so that I don't waste time tweaking it. The point being that this is going to be the last conjunction between Sun Pluto at the 29th degree of Capricorn. This is the last time we will see this. The next time we see this will be, well, it'll be in, a very long time. That's got to be significant, don't you think? Don't you guys think that's got to be significant? This is the solar journey coming to an end of being conjunct Pluto in Capricorn after the last time that was present was 248 years ago. The next time it's going to be present is going to be a very, very long time. So this is a portal that's really stepping us into seeing the end, you could say, of something very significant of Pluto in Capricorn. Now, Pluto will go back because here it's getting ready to go into Aquarius, right? And it will go back into Capricorn, but it fully commits to Aquarius by November next year. Thus, it will not form a conjunction to the Sun in Capricorn again. This is the last time. This really is a signature of something final happening collectively, most certainly, and perhaps within our own selves as well, relative to our own birth chart, life story, etc. So this date here is quite huge. This is, and I may come back and talk more to this because I only sort of realized this, a couple of days ago, and I haven't given it too much thought. But the immediate response to this is, wow, this is huge. The final end, it's like, and God, I can't wait to see the back of this. It's been exhausting, but it's also been so eye-opening. But I'm really feeling that there may be other things before this, but certainly the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in April, I think it's on the 19th of April in Taurus, that's when I think we're going to really see and feel and experience and work with something that will have a new trajectory for us, a new trajectory of new possibilities that have absolutely the prospect of real growth and expansion and development and breakthroughs. Uranus is the most awesome energy for breakthroughs, and perhaps there'll be some breakthroughs collectively in the economy and in the system of money as well, because it is all happening in the sign of Taurus, which is about our own survival and therefore what we do to survive, which is work, make money, etc., etc. There will be some grand opportunities that will be born out of that conjunction. That's one of the most hopeful things I see coming to us, if you like, in the early part of 2024. There may be some other things, but certainly not as fantastic as this conjunction. But I do want to come back and speak to that perhaps on another day. I think I'm going to wind it up, guys. I think this was a reasonable go at a first proper live stream. So thank you for all of you who did join, and thank you to those for your super chat questions. Let me just make sure that I've answered all of them. Pebbles, Vesta, Venus in Capricorn, and brother that was adopted. I would love to find him. Yeah, I hope you do. Okay, guys, I feel from what I can see, I hope I haven't missed any super chats. I don't think I have because there was only two or three there. So that was pretty easy to navigate. Thanks again for joining this live. I hope that you've all enjoyed the information that I've shared with you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed connecting with each other as well. I can see there's lots of connecting going on, which is wonderful. Actually, I do want to say this as well, though. The conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus, which happens April 19th, I looked at, because the next Venus star point that will be activated on the wheel, at the moment we have the Leo morning star, right? That's the goddess that's overseeing what's going on the earth. And literally, because the morning star is the retrograde cycle of Venus. That's when Venus is closest to the earth. Hence, her involvement on the earth is hands-on warrior goddess. However that needs to happen. In June of next year, she transitions from morning star to evening star. And I think that's going to be a profound relief in a lot of ways. There's a lot I've got to say about that. It is in Gemini. There's always a lot to say about planets in Gemini. This happens to be a Venus star point in Gemini. And I just want to show you the chart. This is it here. This is the actual chart, well, for the southern hemisphere anyway, of the next Venus star point, which is a Sun-Venus conjunction, otherwise known as cazimi. It is the Venus star point. It is an evening star. We know that because Venus is not retrograde, right? This is when Venus is reborn into an evening star goddess, and there's a whole beautiful story around her transition, actually, which I'm going to come back and talk about what happens in that process of change and transition, the divinities that connect with her throughout that transition. There's a Gorgona there happening. There's a lot of stuff happening, which I will unpack soonish, early next year sometime, or closer to June, let's say. But here's what I wanted to point out. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus is really interesting because it happened, just a couple of months before June. And look at where they are now in this chart here. But what actually happens is the Sun to Uranus, meaning the Sun-Venus conjunction, actually, the Venus star point, this conjunction, this Venus star point to Uranus has a very important midpoint, which happens to be Jupiter. And again, that is, first of all, very encouraging and very hopeful. And it also is mirroring the energy of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that occurs in late April. I'll come back and talk about this in greater depth. But I just wanted to show you that because I think that's really, really interesting. Okay, guys, I'm going to head off. Thanks for joining the live stream. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for your time, and wishing you all a solstice that enables you to reflect on, where you've been, where you've come, what you've learned, what you've developed, and a real recognition of gratitude. The universe loves gratitude, loves souls that are grateful. God's source creation to all things, is always testing us and teaching us. And I think being grateful equates to abundance across the board. So the solstice is to remind us of the darkness coming to an end, new light arriving for those in the northern hemisphere, and for us in the southern, we've got the opposite experience, but there's similarities in the process because there's a transition going on. So we are preparing now for the change, you know, that the sun is going to start to get lower in the sky, you know, over the next couple of months. And for you guys, he's going to start climbing higher, right? This is all symbolic of light, light and darkness within. We all have light and darkness within, all of us. So gratitude, I think, is probably the best thing we can really reflect on at this time, and also really give wherever we can, just give wherever we can, and have an open heart and compassion for those that are experiencing dire straits. Okay, I'm going to end it here, and I don't know how I'm going to save this chat, but I'll see if I can figure it out. Much love, and happy, reflective, grateful solstice to all of you, and see you soon.